Welcome back, everybody. There's another episode of Rage Across the Internet. I'm your host, Daniel Tyson.
Hey,
Yeah, man, that's weird when I say that.
what the fuck? Hey, get out of my chair, you creep!
Sorry. Hey, Porter. Welcome
God,
back.
God damn. This is a mutiny over here?
Nothing
Worth a
sacred.
shot.
Hi, everybody. This is another episode of Rage Across the Internet with your actual host, Porter. To my left, as always, producer Joey.
Hey guys.
And the guy sitting in the corner for the rest of the episode is our guest, Daniel Tyson. Danny.
Hey, good to be
Fucking
back.
mutinous.
Even from over here.
Keep your nose in that corner, you prick. So, hey, how are we all doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Danny's in the corner. So yeah, everything's normal.
Normal.
Showboating some bitch.
Well, it's good to be back. How about that?
Well, it's still good to have you back anyway, even for that nonsense. It turns out you're here for a reason.
Yes.
We're doing our second episode in the Auspice series. And today we are hitting the Philodox. So, of course, while I have played a Philodox and Joey has played a Philodox, Danny is currently our Philodox. So we thought, who better to have on the show?
That's
And then they weren't available, so we got Danny.
Oh,
wow.
Ah. Yeah.
Oh, second place.
don't tell him about the other 4.
Fifth place? Oh, man.
Yeah, there we go.
So
So,
glad to know that.
so it's part 2 of our Auspice series. Again, we remind the uneducated, that the Auspice is in fact the sign of the moon that was shown when Agara was born, and that dictates the role in Agara society. The Philodox, as the half moon, is the keeper of the ways, is the judge. Law and order and Danny this time.
Dunk dunk.
And series developed by Dick Wolf.
Yes.
Coincidence? Absolutely.
What?
So,
More
why?
conspiracy theory.
Oh, we'll get to that, my friend. But why don't you start with why did you pick a Philodox?
Well, when I first picked my character, going through all the jobs, all the auspices, and trying to decide what I wanted to do. If I wanted to be easy, and I wanted the easy one, I was probably going to pick the Haram. Battlefield. Hacker slasher. If I'm picking a video game character or something, that's the one I pick. But I went with Philodox instead because it seemed a little bit more than just. I don't want to be rude to the other Aurons here, but it seemed a little bit more than just the mindless flailing and clawing and killing.
Well, there's definitely more to Aharon than that, but I understand why you thought that way at the time.
At the time, yeah. I mean, I probably only read a few, overviews of each of the auspices.
Yeah, a little sentence or two, box top kind of bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
And those two, the Philodox and the Haran, were the ones that spoke to me personally. But because that was something new, and I was told that Werewolf is not your typical RPG. It's more of just the story than it is the looter. I wanted to get the most out of it, so pick the next one that speaks to me. Maybe this will get you further.
And I like how, you went for not the easy pick. You challenged yourself. And I think that'll allow your character to stretch and to grow.
I believe it has a lot already. Excuse me. Sorry.
Can you tell us how?
A lot of the decisions that my character Hunter has had to make, he's made because he's Philodox. It's there's certain things that decide where that character is going, and that decision makes for the next part of the story. And if he was around, some of those decisions, or if any other auspice, some of those decisions would be completely different than what he's picked.
Do you have an example on in the chamber?
About the missing arm.
Okay. A quick recap on that. The previous Chronicle that we played, Dana's character Hunter did in fact lose an arm in battle. He was very, very severely injured, and that arm just wasn't coming back as a consequence. Later, he was given a chance to have a prosthetic, and he decided not to. Just background for folks.
Yeah, no.
So please go on.
I'm sure it's appreciated for them too, and it's a good reminder. You know, it wasn't, and at the time too, it wasn't really just a prosthetic. So not only that, but part of the litany saying, "Don't tend to thy sickness to suffer thy people." You know, having a missing arm could be construed to some as bringing the pack down. So he had to make the most of that and make sure that he wasn't going to do that. Be the Philodox, uphold the litany, and that was part of it.
But making sure the loss of the arm wasn't a liability.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Well, thank you for clarifying. I probably needed to put a little bit more into that.
Yeah, there was a way to construe that at first. That was like,
Yeah,
wait a minute.
yeah. And it was like, okay, so you didn't take the prosthetic because of the litany? What?
But, I'm the one who brought that up, and that clearly wasn't the way he was going with it, so that's on me.
No, again, I appreciate you clarifying, because I probably could have put a little bit more information there. I was just not thinking of it right away.
But it's a solid position to hold.
Yeah, it is. And his character hasn't let the loss of that arm bring the pack down.
No, not at all. In fact, to the guy's credit, and we're only going to spend a second on this because I don't want his ego to get too big, and he tried to steal my job a couple minutes ago. When they got back to the set, and he had recovered a bit, the first thing he did was go up to a pack that was training and say, "No, I want in." And he didn't use as many words, but it was "kick my ass."
Yeah, remembering that. Yeah, and I wanted to show, because obviously I can say this out loud, that I don't want this to happen, and I don't want people to misconstrue this part of the missing part of me. But in the story, you have to make that stick. You have to explain to those people, because they don't know. Try to make it as real as possible. So for me to go into that and go, okay, I'm in. See if you can kick my ass too. Somewhere on those lines, I'm sure. I think that helped not only show that pack I was training with, but also all the other packs around who were watching.
And that's exactly what happened. I mean, it was a bold statement to the elders that here's this guy who went through this massive injury, and as soon as he's back on his feet, he's getting the shit kicked out of him. But he's electing to go and get the shit kicked out of him. Making that statement that, I'm not gonna lie down and die, and that was a big deal. But
there's a few things he had to relearn, and kind of like behind the scenes stuff. But we did, there's so much time has passed now, and he's had to relearn not only how to fight, but how to be part of a pack again, because there's a missing part of him that's a weak part of the team. So learn to cover that up, learn to use it, something, along those lines.
And again, all this in service of, thou shalt not allow thy people to tend thy sickness. So, proving that he wasn't going to be a liability, upholding the litany. And really, that's what we were talking about there.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing I wanted to make sure was in place for that story, because he was understanding he was not going to be the liability.
Which, again, is admirable. But,
I have a question, because you don't, you want to enforce the litany when it's about you. How do you feel, or how would you feel about enforcing the litany if it was one of us or somebody else?
Well, I guess that kind of depends on each individual situation, right? I mean, as a Philodox, you have to, it's not just black and white. You have to interpret the gray areas. So, something being a Philodox, I kind of started to pick up on is that take a stance on something. once you take a stance, keep that stance. Don't beat around bushes. Don't kind of trickle. Maybe he can do it this way, but maybe do it this way. So I feel like I've given that. I was given that second chance, and I took it and went with it.
Okay.
So as far as my character goes, I feel like he believes that everyone at least deserves the second chance. But if they don't take that second chance and they don't take it seriously, then that second chance shouldn't be given to them anymore.
I think it's a solid point.
Yeah.
And I guess we kind of beat around that, but we understand why you chose the Philodox, and we appreciate, again, it's like Joey said, good on you for taking that step and going out of your comfort zone, especially for your first character. That's not a thing people often do, especially when you had, zero role-playing experience.
Right.
You hadn't done anything.
No.
So this was your first time out of the gate, period.
Yeah.
That you hadn't seen first base, forget about a home run. You're going out of your wheelhouse. That was great. So with your experience thus far, and you have definitely grown as a character, you've grown as a Philodox, what does being a Philodox mean to you?
What does it mean? Well, I mean, it's not just the law and order. It's not just the judge, the jury, and often executioner, like Joey likes to say. But it's the interpreter. It's the upholder of those laws. Like I said, that gray area is often misconstrued at times and can be read differently for different people. So interpreting that and making sure that people understand it, not only that, but upholding all that to keep from chaos and anarchy. Because without the litany or even just law and order to begin with, it's just nuts. It's already an apocalypse. Why make it any worse than it has to be?
Fair enough. Well, here's something for you, a little elephant in the room. You got a little nickname around here, around these parts.
Which one are you talking about?
He has a point.
Yeah, you have once or twice worn the moniker of Conspiracy Theory Danny.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I never heard that one yet.
Yeah, definitely not. So that's got to be a problem in terms of your role as a Philodox.
Yes.
How do we deal with that?
Oh man, I think that's part of my character too. That's where he struggles. And my big thing with that is it's overthinking. And I'm sure we've mentioned that before. But yeah, I tend to overthink. And because of that overthinking, I start to go astray. I'll follow a thread. And then my overthinking happens and that thread is no longer there and I've lost.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing we've seen, like we talk about this and we have our jokes and we have our fun, but we've all seen, like here in this group, here in the studio, examples of Danny getting onto something and he's onto something, and he'll start moving that thread and start moving the thread and look, there's a bumblebee. Look at the bumblebee. And then you'll go and chase that guy. And your original thing where you were onto something, you're like, well, wait a minute, this guy didn't show up for Bond Patrol. And his fetish, it looked like it was just freshly polished. And this is a slovenly motherfucker. And ooh, he was eating corn nuts. Corn nuts, okay. Which means he might be crazy. And if he's crazy, then and then you just stick with the corn nuts thing.
I mean, I'm laughing because you're not that far off.
I was just going to say, it's not that far gone.
Yeah, I just made up that example, but it was essentially accurate.
Yeah, it really is kind of accurate.
I mean,
it might be pretzels instead of corn nuts, but it's close.
I kind of like the corn nuts. He's eating corn nuts because he's crazy. And that was me foreshadowing he's crazy.
Oh, okay.
No, I knew where he was going with it.
Yeah. So you do that, and I know you've tried to fight that urge.
Yes, and I think I still fight the urge, but it comes out once in a while.
Once in a while, and it doesn't help. Behind the scenes, sometimes I enable that by giving you a legit mystery to figure out.
Yeah, I can remember a couple, at least two different examples where something's happened in game and I start questioning it, and then you're like, it's not part of the story, don't worry about it, but maybe keep it in your mind for later. And all of a sudden, we don't hear about it for a while, and then all of a sudden something happens, and a light bulb goes off in my head, and I was like, that's exactly why I was thinking that. And like, yeah, well, I told you not to think about it, and then.
Well, and to be clear, what I'm doing there is because I know that you will take those threads and like I'm foreshadowing something. You know, like there's a news report on. You know, it's like you heard that news report because like in a chronicle and a half, I'm going to use that shit. But like now you're incorporating it into something. But like the news report's in Colorado and you're in New Orleans. So it's like it's in Colorado. Shut up. Leave it alone. Don't try to link that to this, please.
Yeah, and that's one of those nice things about Porter's stories too, is he does a lot of foreshadowing, and that, yeah, I say that's a nice thing, but that could be one of the reasons why my threads go way off sometimes.
I want to see your murder board.
You mean with the pins and all the strings?
Yep, and the strings and the pictures, and I want to see that.
Good luck. I need a couple walls.
There's not enough yarn in the world?
No, that reminds me. I need to tell my wife to go get me some work string.
I'd imagine that shit doubles as a hammock.
Probably, at least eventually. Yeah, different color strings for different theories. It's not that bad, but it's pretty close.
Well, and okay, so that brings up another side of the Philodox that people often overlook, is the investigative side. Like,
yeah, I like that part.
You have to solve the mysteries. You have to get to the bottom of it because people who are breaking the litany probably don't want to be found out.
Right. Yeah, the investigative part is kind of fun too, and I think I've taken more of an interest, especially my character has done a lot more of that in some of our more recent games, compared to just this is the litany, this is the law, this is what we should be doing. I think the investigative part I've taken more, at least let me say it again, at the very least, the more investigative part on why some of those things happen.
Well, you know, I've always believed that why is almost always the more important and interesting question.
Definitely the more interesting question.
Yeah, regardless of what you're talking about.
Oh, I agree fully. And that why is usually the answer. I mean, okay, upholder of the law, and you broke this law, that means this should happen. But why did that person break that law? Find out why, and maybe it's not, it's either worse than you thought or it's not as bad as you thought.
No, absolutely. You know, I mean, motive is that's a huge thing. And, you know, when you move further away from that, though, you look at, there's just a lot of logic involved there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's something that it's important to a Philodox is to have that logical core, that center, to be able to take that step back and look at a thing, and separate the stuff from the stuff.
Right. And I kind of see it sometimes as peacekeeper.
Really?
At times.
Okay.
I mean, you can probably go more of different tribes who think, they're the peacekeepers, but like I think if you're going into a certain situation where you're needing the different auspices, I think the Philodox is more like a peacekeeper.
Well, let's jump off that tribe statement. You know, I mean, the Philodox has a job to do, right. Certainly, but that job fluctuates in terms of, like, I'd say extra duties when it comes to different tribes. There's more or less to it, depending on where you're standing. You know, and now your character Hunter, he's in a multi-tribal sept.
Right.
You know, so you don't get a lot of that tribal-specific targeting stuff, where there are specific aspects, that if you were in a tribal sept,
mm-hmm.
would be kind of your problem, and you don't have to deal with that right now. So I guess my question here is, how does that influence your position as a Philodox, and is it a relief? Is it a good thing or a bad thing that you sort of skip those more specific duties because of the nature of your sept? I mean, do you feel that cheapens the experience? Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, that's kind of difficult because I don't think my character specifically has been in a a single tribe sept. I know we've visited, but like stayed in there and witnessed, the politics of that sept specifically. You know, whereas being a Philodox of our sept, yes, there is an elder who's a Philodox, but I've kind of taken after that. And there are times where if it comes down to what the Philodox says, that doesn't mean I'm going over that person's head or anything, but I definitely take that into consideration. Now, I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen a singular tribe's, what their Philodoxes do. So I can't really say that it cheapens it, but I'd be curious to at least witness. But at the same time, I do think it betters myself because I can see how different Philodoxes work, if that makes sense.
Well, I get where you're going there, but I mean, let's be specific. You know, it's all there in the Auspice book, and the Philodex chapter of the Auspice book. It gives examples of the different tribes and extra shit. And obviously you wouldn't. I wouldn't call you an expert on the tribes that you're not, because look.
Right.
Why are you interested in what the Philodox do in Red Talons? You're not a Red Talon. If that comes up later, fine. But there's an aspect to the Fianna, for example. This matchmaker aspect, which does not apply where you are because you're not in a Fianna sept. There's two other Fianna that you even know as a character. So it's not your problem. So do you feel that you're losing something by that aspect not being a part of things?
Probably at least a little bit. I would, yeah, you're probably right, and that's why I say that I would like to at least witness. I know currently in our story we're doing a little bit of dealings with the Children of Gaia sept, and some of our friends are there, so maybe eventually something like that. But I mean, like I said, I think it's more of a curiosity.
Okay, so you don't feel as a player that you're being deprived something?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think I'm getting more out of it knowing that there's like an elder who was a Philodox in our set.
Yeah, and so you're happy with the representation of Philodoxes in your home sept?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I know that was a point with Tom because there isn't a elder Ragabash. However, the sept leader is a Philodox, and she's a total hard ass, so that's got to be fun. Like, I don't have to interact with her. You guys do, so.
You have to do the interactions, though.
Oh, yeah, but that's hard. You mean I got to be a dick to you guys? Oh, man.
Darn. Yeah.
Can I take a break? I gotta, yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, how do I do that after I just sent you in the corner with your nose down?
Well, maybe stay out of my chair. I know this is kind of the Danny show, and it should be the Danny show. But, Joey and I have both had experiences playing a Philodox. So, Joey, you got anything?
I actually appreciate the extra duties that the Philodoxes have. I think it adds more texture and more flavor to the game. I like a Philodox. I enjoy playing them. When I came into this game, it was, okay, what do you guys have? Where are your holes? What do you need? And if you had gone with our round, then I would have chosen Philodox in a heartbeat. But I'm glad you picked it because I think it's a great learning experience, and I'm thrilled that you chose it for your first character.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm still on that first character, and I have no intention of ever making another one as long as I can help it. Well, and if I would have picked Upround, I probably would have switched by now.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
I don't think my story would be where it's at.
I think you're underestimating the Outround, but I appreciate your stance here.
Yeah, you're probably right. Again, I haven't played it, so I don't know for sure.
But we'll get to that in the Outround episode.
Oh yeah, that is absolutely a future one.
So.
You know, and you subscribe to that the same kind of theory that Tom does, where you would prefer to learn things about the nation through the eyes of your character because these are your first characters.
Correct.
So, I mean, like, the obvious answer would have been, well, read the damn Aharon chapter. But I understand why you choose not to. And, I mean, I got to respect that decision.
Yeah.
Especially with first
Appreciate it.
characters, because you are, everything you know is through the eyes of this character. And that helps bond you to the character. And that's a great thing. More of that, please.
That's kind of where I was, where my head was at that time.
And now, like, the traveling judge that can happen with the Philodox.
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever see your character falling into that?
I think, excuse me, sorry. I think eventually. I don't think right now, not yet. Especially right now, I think there's too much in our story, what's going on, that's more specific to us. But I think when things start settling down, I think he's, at least going to be trusted, or that's the hope, he'll be trusted to do that.
So when you're ready to retire this character, that would be...
I don't know. That's a difficult decision when you put it that way. I think that'd be a cool idea. I just don't see it yet.
Gotcha.
So if at the end of this chronicle you were thrown into a situation where you had to do something like that, you'd be in and over your head? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, is that more foreshadowing?
I don't know what you're talking. I don't even know what that word means. Why would you have four shadows, you creep? What are you talking about?
I don't think I'd be in over my head. I think he would be a little... I think he'd be worried, but I think he could handle it.
What about Danny the player?
Danny would be terrified that, oh crap, this is what I got to do now. So thanks for the heads up. Now I know what to prep for.
Oh, there's a lot we have to prep for.
Do you?
This is so far down that train.
Sir, you get in trouble when you try to play 4D chess with me. Maybe you should not try to prepare as much as you think you're gonna.
Pretty sure that's where most of my conspiracy theories end up.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
4 moves behind on the chessboard.
You're still holding checkers is the problem. You're like, king me, and I'm like, dude, that's not even the game. Like, but king me?
That's a knight, sir.
All right.
You can't king knights. Okay, well then out of curiosity, you've both played Philodoxes. Are there certain things you guys tend to do when playing Philodox compared to others?
I just love bossing people around.
Well, thank you, by the way. I like this question. The Philodox I have experience, and I'm not talking NPCs because that's a different animal, but as an actual, my experience
Right.
playing.
Right. Well, I mean, you could use the NPCs too. I wouldn't mind that answer.
That's such a long and varied answer because,
Because you have 147,000
right,
NPCs.
Right, because Cy Moonwalker is not Sage Windover Mountain, is not Nathaniel Owens, is not Jude Thunderfury, is,
Okay, so go with one you played.
Exactly. In which case, I'm going to talk about my boy Jude, who is a Shadow Lord Philodox. And that's something I love to death. I love a good argument. I mean, you guys know that about me. I love a good argument. I love winning these arguments. I like it when you guys put up a bit of a fight. But
Never, ever play super fight with this man.
it's fun. I just browbeat people for like 10 minutes and then I win.
Yes.
No one will play with me and I don't blame anyone.
I think that's a different story for a different time.
It's a different thing. But, I love a good argument. And from the aspect of the Shadow Lords, I love being able to take an argument.
A debate.
Sure, a debate. And turn it from a debate to, you're going to do what I say. And I'm going to twist your words and the rules around to a point to where you just kind of have to because it's for the best. It's for the good of all Gaia.
I think that's why you're such a good Shadow Lord.
You were about to say dick. I saw you. I saw that D coming out of your...
Yeah.
You.
What he's talking about.
Yeah. No, I have a lot of fun doing that, though. I think it's a fun challenge for me. You know,
Challenge?
well, sometimes, you know, when I first started with that role, I would take the litany and I would find ways to rebut every single tenant while using the other tenets of the litany.
Yeah. And I mean, on the flip side, I played a Black Fury, Philodox, who was in charge of a pack of guys. So, of course she was the leader. You know, she's the Black Fury. There's nobody else qualified.
Wow.
I gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That character sounds like a delight.
So the
You
Black
just gained
Fury
a rage
episode
off
will
that.
be great. Anyway, so yeah, she knew the rules, she knew the laws, and she told everybody what to do. And, you know, they got out of a lot of scrapes. So, yeah, I like telling people what to do.
It is a fun thing. You
It
know?
really, really is.
And then, yeah, like on the other hand, here I am. You know, you like to tell people I like to find loopholes to get here's what I want, and here's how you're going to give it to me because it's the law. You know, and it comes back to you have to know the laws before you can break them.
Yeah.
Right. I was just going to say that.
Good question, Danny. Thanks for that. That was fun.
I've got a pretty good idea of where you're going with that one. Well, compared to the tenets of the litany, I'm going to go ahead and guess, combat the worm wherever it dwells, and Garu should not mate with other Garu.
Oh, those are easy to debunk.
Huh.
Now, ye shall take no action to cause a Karen to be violated.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because what I'm talking about, it sounds like I'm talking about a ragabash. And certainly if I left it there, I would be talking about playing a ragabash. But, you know, I'm using those arguments to, if I can defeat this argument, you know, I know how this, you know, it's like looking at the plans. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, here's the argument, this is the rule. Well, this is how you argue breaking the rule. Okay, well, now that I know that, I know how to stop that. Or I know how to twist it back around to get what I want. You know, so it's fun. It's a fun exercise.
And I think you can do that because you relate to the Shadow Lords more than anything else.
They're a magnificent tribe, and I'm very excited for when we do our Shadow Lord episode. That's a wait, though. That's a bummer.
So, Danny,
Yes.
going back to you. I mean, the Metis child. Would you kill it?
No.
Would you kill its parents?
See, that was difficult. But then I go back to the 2 tenets of the litany that I just mentioned. Garu should not mate with other Garu.
Exactly.
So
they
that
broke
makes
the
it Metis.
litany.
But that's now a warrior of Gaia who can now combat the worm.
Can they?
Well, maybe that's their second chance that they deserve if they can.
But the
combat.
parents broke the litany. Do the parents deserve, to die?
Do the 2 parents know that the
The
other
litany?
was? No. Do the 2 parents know that the other was Garu?
Let's go with sure. Yes, they full on knowingly broke the litany.
Okay. Who's the leader of their sept?
Well, that doesn't matter. They broke
Yeah,
the
well,
litany. So what do you do?
Well, my point is that's not my decision to make.
Well,
In this scenario, it is.
it is. What do you do?
I don't think they should be killed, but punished definitely.
And what's a fitting punishment, then, if not death, for breaking the first rule in the fucking book?
Yeah, see,
The number
that
one.
one, that one I'm still struggling with as far as fair punishments.
Now, see,
I'll
I'm
just gonna be honest.
I would look at it and say, if you killed those parents, you're taking away 2 defenders of Gaia.
Exactly. That's
So-
why I'm saying looking for a fair punishment, and I don't think death is the right one.
But, I mean, are you going to ostracize them? Or are you going to throw them out into the, wilds of worm territory and hope that they don't turn?
I mean, that might be a better decision. Exiled from their sept, maybe, sure.
I disagree because they're social creatures. We all are.
There are other seps.
Hmm. And I don't know. Do you take their kid away from them?
Again, still trying to
I mean,
decide
do you
if fair
open
punishments.
a wound in their soul that the worm can crawl into?
Oh my god.
Well, that's unfair. And rude, by the way.
I would imagine as a Fianna, you'd want to smash the thing with a baseball bat. It didn't have to be a baseball bat.
Just-
I mean, is
yeah.
there a pillowcase?
Oh.
Nice.
We've gotten some suggestions of that. I still haven't found anything that just feels right to me. But
Okay.
I have been watching, and thank you, those of you
I
who have
s-
given suggestions.
I think I saw one on there, something about retribution or something like that.
Well, when we find the right one, we'll.
You'll hear about it. Oh, yeah. This is a good callback. I like that.
Well done. Yeah, I'll give credit for that one. No, I see, and I know different tribes have different ideas of what that punishment specifically should be. But I don't think personally, I don't know what that right decision is.
And that's fair. I mean, that might be something that you hold thoughts on, but you don't really know what you're going to do until you do it. And
Right.
while we're on it, who are the people?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing if you're called to a sept because they don't have anyone that can be fair and impartial, and another thing that hey, it's that pack that grew up alongside you.
Yeah, I think that's a much bigger deal. It's, if you're going to make that decision for death on that sept over here that you've been called to do and called to make that unbiased opinion, can you absolutely make that same decision on someone you absolutely know and you work with, you're friends with, someone in your own sept?
It's a tough job. No one said it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And taking that, how do you feel about the idea of a Philodox in a leadership role? There's the school of thought that says that job belongs to the Ahraun. There's the school of thought that says that belongs to the Philodox. Traditionally. I mean, obviously, mileage will vary between packs. But where do you
Right.
stand on all that? What do you think about that?
I see. It's with my character, and when we've said this before too, is that he used to be the alpha, but I think that he's grown enough to understand why he wasn't good enough for that part. I think the Aharon is I don't want to say pack leader, but I want to say maybe like the field general. When it comes to battle plans, your Aharon's your guy. Should always be
You're what?
Guy.
your guy.
He said guy.
Guy. He's the guy.
He's the man.
Yeah, exactly. He is the man.
You're what?
Yeah, I said it on purpose.
Yeah.
You heard me.
That guy is Johnny on the spot. The man with the plan.
I think you mean Joey on the spot.
Yeah, Joey's a good guy. Definitely.
I know a few Joeys.
Yeah, you were saying, Danny.
But I think your leaders are better formed for Philodox. You know what? I can't say that. It's all going to depend on the individual packs. I think some of your better ones are Philodoxes.
Well, and I also think
Leader-wise.
that the character mentality, the personality of the character, the personality of the player, the ability to lead counts for a lot. You can
Yes.
have a Ragabash as alpha. I mean, maybe I don't know who would do that. Maybe that's not the best decision in the world, but there are certainly packs out there that can have it and make it work.
Well, I'm sure there could be. And again, you said it. Any Auspice could be the alpha. And I think it all just goes on each individual pack, though. Who's best suited for it? And you got to remember that being Garu is not just about battle. So maybe that's why your Around's not the best choice for, pack A.
She totally
But it is for pack B.
She totally is.
I don't know.
We're going back to Joey again.
The Ahraud's sister? His maid? What do you mean?
Oh. But
So on that note, final thoughts, everybody, before we jump over to the Cubs corner.
I love Philodox. I've always loved Philodox. They spoke to me a long time ago, and I'm pro Philodox.
I like where I've taken this character, and I think being the Philodox has absolutely been the part of it that's pushed it in that direction. To me, Philodox are the most interesting of all the different auspices. I think they have the most to say. And I'm not saying like to say because of, obviously Galliards have the voice, but maybe the Philodox is, the clearer mind, the stronger vision.
And I think the Philodox is, in my opinion, the most nuanced. You're the judge, you're the defense attorney, you're the prosecutor, you're the private investigator. They have so many individual pieces that go into their role.
Yeah.
Well, I came into this episode with every intent of being the naysayer. And having, both of you, but probably more Danny, kind of making the case for the Philodox. But that didn't happen. Because, I don't feel that way. But, this has been, I think, a productive enough conversation that it really didn't need it.
Right.
It's obviously an important role in the Gar Nation. And it is, either there is nuance, it can be very, very, very varied. I'm a professional. Look out for me. It's the reason why I'm the host. But, if you're starting, you're starting if you're new to the game. It's it can be a challenge for sure, but it's ultimately well worth it. And I think unless we got anything else, let's jump into the corner.
Yeah.
Joey, what do you got for us today?
Okay, here's one I know you're gonna love.
I hate it already.
I was just going to say that.
What would be your best 2-minute speech on how I can get people interested in this game?
I've used it already. I've tried this several occasions, and it's worked. I'll say once, maybe twice.
Go, Danny. What do you got?
Man. It was actually a friend of mine saying, hey, my new favorite album's on Spotify. I was like, so am I. You should check me out. Well, what do you mean you're on Spotify? Well, I have a podcast. And what do you think about being a werewolf? Well, that's weird. Like, well, if you want to be a werewolf, you should check that out.
That is a weird pitch.
Yeah. What do you think about being a werewolf is kind of an odd pitch, but I give him points for creativity.
For someone who has no clue what Werewolf the Apocalypse is, and to throw that at him, and I'm sure he'll be listening. So yeah, that one's for you, bud.
So, hi.
Hi, bud.
But yeah, it's a quick 2-minute speech. You want to be a werewolf? Do you like RPGs? Because this is the best of both of those. How about that?
He's not wrong. It really is the best.
I agree there. I have a more nuanced approach.
Yeah, well...
It's not quite 2 minutes, but...
Yeah.
I usually start with, don't scream, I have a gun. That's normally my pitch. It worked for Danny, it worked on Tom, Haven't seen Jessica in a while. She might be in the witness protection program at this point. So 2 out of 3, hey.
Okay. Do you actually have a pitch speech or no?
Oh, I could probably pull something together on the fly here. I think we're assuming in this scenario that someone who was even slightly interested and not just someone I found in an elevator.
Okay, say you found somebody in a game store.
Okay.
And they're in front of the D&D.
Okay.
How do you pull them over to the werewolf section?
These books won't give you cancer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't think these books will either.
Shut up. You shut up. No,
But I can't prove it.
no, I would suggest that, come over here, check out the World of Darkness. Check out Werewolf. For starters, it's a more relatable and understandable world. You have something where you have context for everything. It's a world based on our own. So you'll never feel lost in terms of what the hell is going on. It's something that focuses more on role-playing and character building as opposed to just numbers on a page. It's something that can fulfill you, and there's so many different aspects of the game. You have your combat, you have your spiritual aspects, you have your politics, your character growth. That there is something in this game for you, no matter what it is you're into. And I understand that D&D is popular, and I understand that it's somewhere that people dip their toe, but don't get yourself stuck over there. Come over here, try this out, howl at the fucking moon, and do it right.
And, I have another little caveat. Girls are more willing to play Werewolf or World of Darkness games than they are D&D.
I still have a gun.
I got nothing.
How was that, though? How's that for a
Yeah,
bitch?
yeah. Okay.
It was way better than mine. Spotify. Go.
The next question.
We got two. Look out.
We have two. Why is the world ending?
Oh.
Yeah. Because it's an apocalypse. Why is the world ending?
Jesus. I mean...
Global warming, COVID.
Go
You mean
on.
in the game?
Yeah.
Oh. I thought we were getting meta.
Wow.
I mean, like it's not, but super volcanoes, maybe like a comet. I'm not a scientist. In game though, well, it's because the worm, which was the cosmic force of balance, has, and this is like the Super Cliffstones version, has gone apeshit and has become the, amongst other things, the worm of corruption, and wants to corrupt and destroy and devour everything.
Okay, so the worm is destroying the world.
It's trying to.
Okay. And the Guru are trying to defeat it?
Or at least prevent it.
Yeah. I mean, what you're dealing with there is these cosmic entities, the worm, the weaver, and the wild. Raw creation and then form and substance and then destruction, that eternal cycle. And, there are several religions that you can apply that to as well. There's the basis of that. And again, the short version is,
Yes, very short.
is the worm lost the fucking plot. Now, how do you destroy just a force of the universe of this is how things are, this is how things started? You can't punch that in the craw.
You can sure as hell try.
You can punch its minions in the craw, but you can't punch the worm That's nope.
Okay. So that's it for Cub's Corner today.
Oh, I love that you accepted that answer. Cool.
Didn't think she had much choice.
Yeah, I don't.
No, we're saving the rest of that for another episode.
Yeah, I mean that's such a lofty fucking question for a Cubs Corner.
Yeah.
How dare you, whoever sent that in? How dare you?
And I figured that's why you said Super Cliff Notes.
Right? I mean, look,
Because
we could spend an episode on who started at the Weaver of the Worm.
Right.
That's an episode we could do.
I have that in my episode book.
Did you?
Yeah,
You really? How
I
about
do.
that? But hey, that's the end of the Cubs Corner, and so that's the end of the show, because that's how we chose to do that. As always, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Danny, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Joey, you don't have a choice.
I really, really don't. He has a gun.
I don't know why I don't know where you get that from. That's crazy talk.
Yeah, who said that? Jeez.
As always, we would love to hear from you guys. Anything from feedback to episode ideas to just ripping Danny a new one for the crap he pulled at the start of this episode. Anything that's in your heart.
I thought it was fun.
So
Get back in your corner.
Oh.
I'm gonna put rice on the floor, make you kneel in it. Don't mess with me.
Ooh.
But hey, you can email us, rageacrosspodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. Yeah, you can find me on Facebook through Rage Across the Internet. You can find Joey on Twitter at RageAcross.
That's true.
You know how to find us. You've listened to us. You've just listened, so you got to us.
Hey, do it again next week.
It's right, do it again next week. But also, in the meantime, tell everyone you've ever heard of. You should tell your friends. You should tell your enemies. Tell your parents. Tell everyone you've ever heard of. Come listen to the show. It's a good time. And they can listen on Spotify, on iTunes, on iHeartRadio,
And on Stitcher.
and on Stitcher. You can also go to our site, which is,
rageacrosstheinternet.buzzsprout.com.
at least for today, it is. What does that mean? Again,
Tune in next time.
right? Tune in next time, which would be our first of the Tribal series. So there's maybe something to look forward to or something to run away from. But you should come check it out. As always, thank you for listening. And on behalf of everyone here, we really appreciate your support. You take care. Be excellent to each other. We'll see you. Hey, everybody. Porter here. With the current goings on in the world, we know that things are tough all over. And small businesses left and right are closing their doors. Some possibly for the last time. Now, friend of the show, Christopher Kading, over at Strange Empire Gaming, has started a GoFundMe to help not only his store, but the other small businesses in the Maddie's Plaza small business park that maybe don't qualify for the financial aid out there. Now, again, I know it's tough times, and a lot of people are unemployed. Some got employment, some didn't. So we understand if you don't have anything to give, there's no problem at all. But if you do, if you have some extra cash sitting around, maybe consider taking a look and donating to a good cause. All on their own, game stores were closing left and right. But situations like this, it just seems like such a shame to see something close, to see a game store close down. Anything you can do to help would be fantastic. And again, if you can't, we completely understand. But as proponents for the local game store, us here at the podcast, we have to try and get the word out. So again, please, if you can do something, we really appreciate it. If not, it's okay. But thank you for your time. Keep being excellent to each other. We'll see you next episode.
Rage Across the Internet's music is It's Into the Fog by Darren Curtis, shared with a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 unported license. For details, check out the information under the podcast.